Hey there, Octo here. You ever just see a comment on the internet and it makes you suddenly wish that COVID had just killed us all and ended our collective misery? Well, that's what this one did to me. For context, this guy's talking about Attack on Titan, and more specifically, the change that occurred in its art style starting in Season 3. Now, the real problem that I have here isn't that this one guy so vehemently believes that Attack on Titan looks better in Seasons 3 and 4, which, how could you? But it's actually that this is somehow, miraculously, a popular opinion. More than just the art style, though, there's this pervasive belief that the poorly directed and written Seasons 3 and 4 are somehow superior to Attack on Titan's debut episodes in nearly every facet. And this belief is so ingrained into the anime community that if you go on My Anime List, the site where everyone goes to rate their favorite anime a 7 out of 10, you'll notice that, for some unholy reason, Season 3 of Attack on Titan is the third highest rated show on the fucking website, while Season 1 ranks at 103rd. So why does every corner of the internet ooze with love for these last two seasons despite their rather clear drop in quality? I don't fucking know! And that's a very complex question that will take a lot of time and research to answer. But what I can tell you for sure is that anyone who genuinely believes that Seasons 3 and 4 are better looking than Season 1 is full of shit. And that's what I'm going to be focusing on today. Why Season 1 of Attack on Titan looks so much better than its future seasons. Everything else is a topic for another day. Let's start with the most obvious change that occurred between seasons: colors. In Season 1, the colors of the world of Attack on Titan popped out and were vibrant. In particular, brighter, warmer colors like red and yellow often stood out, which is why, incidentally, those colors are applied to several important characters, like Mikasa, Armin, and the Colossal Titan. The same applies to the opposite spectrum of colors. Cooler colors like blue and green also popped out on screen, like in this opening shot on this hill or in Eren, Armin, and several other characters' eyes. Compare this to Season 3, and yeah, no particular color pops out because of this dumb fuck grayscale filter that got puked onto every shot of the show, which makes every scene look the same tonally. Fans of the new art style don't deny this fact, but will instead try to defend it by saying that it fits with the darker atmosphere and tone of the third and fourth seasons. So let's break down exactly what the problems are with that statement and why it's wrong. For starters, this claim that the duller color palette is fitting because the tone of the later seasons is darker is a fallacy from the get-go, because the tone of the story isn't any darker than it was from the beginning. To illustrate this point, here are a few examples from Season 1. Remember in episode fucking 1 when Eren's mom gets crushed by a boulder, then eaten alive by a titan in front of his very eyes? Remember in episode 2 when 250,000 people were sent on a literal Trail of Tears death march because the government couldn't feed all of the refugees?
その数25万人。人口の2割に相当したが、生存者はわずか百数十名。その犠牲で残された人々の食料不足はわずかながらに改善された。
Remember that time in episode 5 when Eren and his friends were eaten alive in front of Armin, leaving him with permanent PTSD?
一体何があったんだよ。おい、落ち着けアルミン。みんなは。
Remember in episode 6 when a woman was in such a state of shock that she tried resuscitating the body of her boyfriend over and over again, despite the fact that he was severed in half and long dead?
ハンナ、こ こは危険だから早く屋根の。フランツをこのままにできないでしょ。違うんだ、アンナ。フランツは。
That's like some Jackie Kennedy shit right there. I could go on, but I think you get the fucking point. This show is dark from the get-go, and nothing in season 3 or 4 tops any of what I just listed out. People still die, though less than in season 1, much to my disappointment. But besides an added dose of racism and high school level commentary thereof, nothing new happens in these seasons that could constitute as making them any darker than the very first fucking episode onwards. So this idea that the show needed to have a duller color palette to fit a darker story is just factually incorrect. But beyond that, there's a more technical reason why the Drab color palette is so much shittier than season 1's. Color is such a key component of the visual arts, and visual storytelling is no exception. Color serves as an aesthetically pleasing and instantaneous way of conveying messages and subtext to an audience. One such example in film is M. Night Shyamalan's Unbreakable. Spoilers for a 20-year-old film. As many critics have pointed out before, this is a film that utilizes color to tell its story in subtle yet noticeable ways. Throughout its runtime, several characters are wearing bright colors. But while the vibrant colored clothes are immediately obvious to anyone watching, the pattern of who is wearing them and why is not so clear until this scene. It's at this moment that the pattern becomes glaringly obvious to the audience. It is the villains who are wearing bright colored clothing, including bright greens, reds, yellows, and oranges, while the innocent public wears darker shades of greens, browns, and blacks. And yet there's one character who we don't see directly again until the very end of the film who doesn't fill this archetype based on his actions: Elijah. Throughout the film, he wears some pretty noticeable purples, yet he has been nothing but courteous, friendly, and weak, so the idea that he could possibly be as terrible as any of these people just doesn't register in the audience's mind. Which is why the end twist of the film is so gut-wrenching, when David finally shakes his hand and we see this. This twist was here from the beginning of the film. The story had already been told simply through the color of Elijah's clothes, and yet it was so well executed that we, as an audience, don't even realize it until the film is over. So, point being, color is very important in filmmaking, and season 1 of Attack on Titan has color in spades. What's more, it uses that color to tell a story and convey its themes to the audience. For example, Mikasa's scarf, which was wrapped around her by Eren on the day that they met, is red. This, for years, was theorized to be symbolic of a red string of fate, a Japanese myth involving two lovers connected by an invisible red string. And this was, spoilers, confirmed correct when Mikasa kisses Eren's severed head at the end of the manga. Yeah, this series jumps the fucking shark in those last few chapters, but regardless, it's a good use of color to tell the story visually before it's even happened. Also, one of the underlying themes of Attack on Titan is the duality of life and the world at large, spouted more poetically by Mikasa when she says, Thus, the colors of Attack on Titan's world are important in establishing the beautiful part of that duality, while the death, gore, and the weather effects work to establish the cruel aspect of the world. By removing all vibrancy in Season 3's color palette, we are left with a dark story set in a drab and colorless world, thus removing that bit of visual storytelling and any subtlety with it. As these images from the first volume of Attack on Titan indicate, Hajime Isayama is a terrible artist. It was for this reason that Season 1 of Attack on Titan took several creative liberties with the character design of the series, and it was much better off for it. For example, Eren was given emerald green eyes, which when glowing made his Titan form much more monstrous and intimidating. And Mikasa's design was overhauled dramatically, making her 1. Look as beautiful as the in-series characters describe her, and 2. Giving her scarf some symbolic meaning through, again, a much better color choice than Isayama made when designing the characters in the manga. Beyond this, several generic details were attached to every character's design. Fully drawn eyelashes, well-defined jaws that actually moved when the characters spoke, pronounced lips, particularly on women, and the bold black outlines that separated characters from blending into the background. These design choices all gave the show an unparalleled amount of character and visual quality when compared to other anime then or since, and the work put into keeping those designs consistent and equally high detailed throughout the show's run was an incredible feat for the newly formed studio wit. Unfortunately, Isayama, the envious bastard that he is, saw these improvements and said no, demanding during negotiations for Season 3's renewal that the characters and art style be redone in his poorly drawn image, thus leading to this mediocrity. Not only do these designs not pop out, are less detailed, and look generally worse, but they're also inconsistent as hell due to the studio's struggle to readjust to the new art style. This is Mikasa in Season 1. She has different expressions, but her design remains intact even amongst the changing setting and emotions conveyed in each image. Here's Mikasa's design in Season 3. No, wait, hold on a second. This is the right one. Wait, fuck, this is... Wait, hold on a second. That's just the first season's design, but in Season 3. Okay, hold on. How about this one? Dear God! Fuck! No! Get that away from me! Get it away! Please, God! No! Speaking of things I want to make go away, let's talk about potentially one of the worst aspects of Season 3, and especially Season 4. Very bad CGI. Defining what exactly bad CG is like defining what porn is. You can try to categorize it, but in reality, you really just know it when you see it. So with that in mind, I'm just going to show some juxtaposed scenes between Seasons 1 and 2 and Seasons 3 and 4, and you can decide for yourself whether or not you define what you're about to see in those later seasons as bad CG.
奴らに支配されていた恐怖を鳥かごの中に囚われていた屈辱を
That's a more obvious example, but one particular CGI downgrade that I noticed while editing this video was the Beast Titan. This is his first appearance in Season 2. Look at how detailed his fur is, how the light reflects off his shoulders, and how he speaks even. I don't have the subtitles on in this footage, yet you can tell by his expressions and body language what he's feeling in each shot. And what's more, you can probably even read his lips if you know Japanese. By contrast, here's the CGI Beast Titan from Season 4. As you can see, less detailed hair, his jaw just opens and closes awkwardly. It really doesn't even look like he's speaking. And then they don't even bother to model his eyes, they just sort of glow red for no reason. It amazes me how the anime industry uses cheap CGI as a monetary shortcut, but doesn't even bother to make it look halfway decent when it's so much easier to animate than 2D animation. This shit is an insult to Attack on Titan's legacy, and the quality that went into its first 2 seasons. This is the kind of low quality CGI that I expect to see in shitty mechas like Old Noah Zero, not in Attack on fucking Titan. So hopefully I've made it clear by now how pronounced the drop in quality was between Seasons 1 and 3 of Attack on Titan. The original art style had vibrancy to it. It used color to enhance the environments and enrich the storytelling. It created detailed character designs that remained consistent and high quality until the very end, with only few exceptions. And finally, its use of CG was relegated to environmental assets only, and even then, only when trying to create a sense of 3D space face during these high-octane scenes involving human beings flying through the air. You know, the only acceptable use of 3D generated backgrounds in 2D animation. Everything else was hand-drawn and fucking beautiful. By contrast, beginning in season 3, the colors are washed out by a constant grayscale filter that adds absolutely nothing to the story or the aesthetics of the show. The character designs are some of the most inconsistent I have ever seen in any anime in my entire life. And the CGI is atrocious. By season 4, it felt like I was watching Aldnoah Zero or some other god-awful mecha from the last 10 years. There are a lot of problems that I have with Attack on Titan's future seasons beyond this one issue, and those are all complaints for another day. Maybe the big critique on Attack on Titan's characters and storytelling will have to come when the anime finally ends next year. But for now, I hope this video can finally, for the love of Ymir, put this one topic to rest. Because if you can watch this turn into this, and somehow still unironically claim that Season 3's animation and art style was clearly improved from Season 1, then you might be delusional. Maybe you just really love Attack on Titan and don't want to see it criticized. Maybe you're just a zoomer who got into Attack on Titan due to its resurgence in popularity, so you feel like defending your Attack on Titan's art style. Hell, maybe you just weren't paying close attention and didn't notice how much worse the show looks until I pointed it out. But whatever the reason may be for you to still hold on to that belief, please just at least give the show another watch before you go claiming that I'm wrong. Because that's what I did before making this video. I actually went back and looked at the show to see if it really was how I remembered it being. So before going off memory here, at least make sure you feel the same way after all these years. Okay? Okay. Still, I always reply to comments that challenge any points I make in one of my videos. So if you really have something more to say on the issue that you think is evidence enough to refute this video's thesis, then by all means, knock yourself out, and we'll have some fun continuing to beat this dead horse. I'm just glad that I was able to get this out in a well-researched and concise way after all these years of complaining. Now when I see comments like this again, I can just link this video instead of writing the same response for a 15th time. Well, anyway, thank you for putting up with my rant here, and I hope you got something out of that, but regardless, thank you very much for watching, and have yourself a very nice day.